Hey boys and girls, we're doing some fun stories this week for Mother's Day, and the story I decided to share is called Mama Seeton's Whistle, written by Jerry Spinelli, illustrated by LeUyen, Pham. I really like this story because it reminds me a little bit of my childhood, and I thought it was perfect right now. I'm actually living with my parents while we're building a house, so I thought it'd be fun if I could show you the backyard where I grew up and where I used to play and hang out. Let's see, we used to have horses over there. Now there's a house. Okay, what a fun backyard, huh? You see that porch right there? So I actually remember my mom standing on that porch a few times to whistle for me to come in for dinner. And then, if you guys notice, there's a street down there on that end. And just about 4 houses down is where my dad grew up when he was a little boy. And he even remembers his mom whistling for him when he would play up and down that street to come in for dinner. So I love this story. It brings back lots of fun memories for me. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so Mama Seeton's Whistle. The first whistle happened one day when Skippy Seeton was 2 years old. Mama Seeton came to the back door to call him in for dinner. He wasn't there. Mama Seeton was puzzled. From the kitchen window she had been watching him play. She stepped into the backyard and called again, but no one came. Mama Seeton was worried. And that's when it happened. Without even thinking about it, Mama Seeton puckered her lips and whistled. It was not a loud whistle or a fancy whistle, just a simple 2-note whistle. But to Skippy Seeton's ears, it was too wonderful to resist. He popped up and piped, "I'm here, Mama!" He had been hiding behind her the whole time. Every day from then on, Skippy Seeton came to dinner when he heard his mother's whistle. And that's how it was when little brother Sheldon came along, and brother Stuart, and finally a sister Sophie. Whenever the Seeton kids heard the whistle, they came running from the backyard, and from their friends' backyards, and from the Bestwick's living room where they sat on the floor watching TV. For these were the old days when only one family on a block had a TV. Every day Mama Seeton baked a chocolate cake. Every day by the end of dinner, it was gone. As the Seeton kids got older, they played farther and farther from their own backyard. They played all the way to Stony Creek, then across the creek and into the park. But they never went farther than Mama Seeton's whistle. It always found them and called them home for dinner and chocolate cake. As the Seeton kids got older still, they traveled to all corners of town. Skippy Seeton rode his bike to the north end where he snacked in his favorite mulberry tree. Sheldon Seeton rode his scooter downtown to visit Papa Seeton, who was a driver for Radio Taxi. Stuart Seeton rolled his skateboard to the park where he made friends with the monkeys at the zoo. And Sophie Seeton ran, but she didn't go anywhere in particular. She just loved to run. And every day at dinner time, Mama Seeton whistled. The whistle wasn't loud and it wasn't fancy, but it went in all directions. It flew through the talk of people and the noise of cars and buses. Always it found the Seeton kids, wherever they were. And home they came, biking and boarding, scooting and running. Time passed. The old days became the new days. When the Seeton kids grew all the way up, they left town, because that's what grown-up kids do in the new days. Skippy Seeton went north where he became a forest ranger. Sheldon Seeton went east where he became captain of a ferry boat. Stuart Seeton went to Africa to make the acquaintance of mountain gorillas. And Sophie Seeton, well, Sophie went everywhere. Sophie ran marathon races all over the world. Of course they were all too far away to come home for dinner, but every day Mama Seeton went to the back door, but she did not whistle anymore. She still baked a chocolate cake, but only once a week. Time went by as time does. "Our nest is empty," cried Mama Seeton. Papa Seeton tried to cheer her up. "Not really," he said. "We 2 old birds are still here." Mama Seeton smiled, but it was a sad smile. She missed her children. Of course the Seeton kids missed their mom too. They wrote to her and sent pictures. Every day at least one letter came through the mail slot in the front door. But for Mama Seeton, it wasn't the same. She longed to touch a face, not an envelope. Time and again, she said, "I miss the old days." One day, Papa Seeton looked across the dining room table and saw that his wife had not touched her dinner. He had an idea. He helped her up from her chair and led her to the back door. He says, "Okay," he said, "whistle." She gave him a look. "Are you goofy?" "Not at all," he said. "If you just pretend it's the old days, maybe you'll feel a little bit better." So Mama Seeton whistled. She had to try 3 times, for she was a little out of practice. The whistle was not loud, it was not fancy, just a simple 2-note whistle. But pretending did not make Mama Seeton feel better. No pretend children came running down the alley. All she felt was disappointment. She went back inside and took a nap. While Mama Seeton was napping, something happened that no one has ever been able to explain. Her out-of-practice whistle flew down the alley and through the neighborhood and through the town and across the country and around the world until it found every one of her children. Skippy Seeton came down from his treetop ranger lookout. Sheldon Seeton docked his ferry boat and left the first mate in charge. Stuart Seeton waved so long to his furry friends, and Sophie Seeton veered away from her race and headed to the nearest airport. Soon, all 4 children were cutting up chocolate cake and laughing with Mama Seeton. And Mama Seeton's days were both new and old, and she was happy once again. Time went by as time does, and now the Seeton children have children of their own. And when they call them in for dinner, they do it with a whistle. It is not loud, it is not fancy, just 2 simple notes that fly through the talk of people and the noise of cars and buses until they find every one of Mama Seeton's grandchildren. That's the end. I hope you guys enjoyed this story as much as I did. We'll see you soon.